You asked me the question about a person with bloating, right? Because that's really important. Because people are doing the opposite of what they should do. So let me explain, because let's talk about this for a little bit.
Okay.
First of all, there's a few things going on. If a person overeats, and they eat till fullness, they're going to surpass the enzymatic capacity of the digestive tract, and things are not going to be digested well because there's not enough digestive enzymes to a person who stretched out the stomach and ate too much food at one time. So number one, a major cause of indigesting and bloating is a person ate till fullness. They ate too much food. Number two, they didn't chew it well enough. And most people overeat and they don't chew well enough. And the major cause of gastritis, bloating, indigestion, it's all about bad diet and not chewing well. You know, when you're sucking down eggs and yogurt, you don't have to chew. But when you're eating so when you're eating a really healthy diet, a lot of plant matter, you really got to chew a lot. So people have to relearn the way they eat. They've got to learn a new way to eat. They got to keep the food in the mouth long and really liquefy it. And we haven't been trained as youngsters that way. And it takes a lot of thought to really chew adequately, especially when you have bloating. Okay, the next thing, so I'm saying the person's overeating, and most Americans are overeating, and you can't get them eating the right amount of food. They're bloating because they're still overeating. Is this person anorexic? Are they underweight? No, they're usually still overweight because their perception of how many calories they need are influenced by what other Americans are eating. So because Americans eat more than double the calories they need, they think they're eating too little if they're eating so much less than everybody else, but they're still overeating for their digestive capacity. Mm-hmm. So they're overeating for their digestive capacity and they didn't chew well enough. That's the first thing. Okay. The next thing is it's hard to digest certain types of fibers, particularly in beans and nuts. Let's take beans, for example. They're hard to digest. But beans have the most resistant starch. And resistant starch is the most favored way to build the microbiome, to have these bacteria that coat the gut and prevent and slow the glucose absorption through the gut wall and produce fatty acids. Okay. So they avoid beans because they don't want to feel good. And now that makes the digestion get worse because now they don't have the bacteria to digest beans. So now there's a vicious cycle. They don't eat foods that they have difficult digesting, like the FODMAPs diet. It's the worst thing you can do is the FODMAPs diet.
Really?
Avoid these foods that are difficult for you to digest because then you're going to digest them even worse in the future. We got to build a healthy microbiome.
It's like building a tolerance.
Yes, it's building the right bacteria to improve digestion. We take those foods away, it gets worse. Now you can only eat eggs and zucchini or something and mushroom, it gets worse. So here's the treatment. Instead of giving people a lot of beans at one time, give them 1 tablespoon of beans with every meal 3 times a day, but below the level which they're going to have too much bloating. But if they have no beans, it's not going to build them, not going to improve them. So maybe this person should have 2 tablespoons of black lentils, chickpeas, or azuki beans, 2 teaspoons with each meal, to the point where they can comfortably have a tablespoon of each meal without forming too much gas or too much bloating.
This is where you could gradually add more beans to your diet over time. Over
time, they can handle 2 tablespoons with the meal. Okay, so beans have the most richest source of resistant starch. And then you can enhance the richest source, the resistant starch in a potato, white potato, let's say, by making it cold in the refrigerator, increases resistant starch. So they could have some cold potato to build more resistant starch. That's easier for them to digest, not eating too much beans. Mm-hmm. So having a little bit of beans, then they have the green vegetables, the zucchini, the string beans, with some lettuce. Now they say, I can't handle raw vegetables, raw carrots, and raw lettuce. I can't handle, Okay, that's going to make you worse because the lettuce has the richest source of sulfoquinavos to build back the gut. So they have to have the lettuce 3 times a day with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So here's what I'm saying now. Some lettuce, some raw greens, maybe some raw onion, because raw onions have the incredible effect on building back the bacteria in the gut. Maybe some cooked mushroom, and a little bit of bean, most importantly, a little bit of bean, 3 times a day below the level and then if they do that long enough, they can improve their healthy biome if they chew super well and they under-eat calories, calorically restrict. And we're talking about people who are not going to be anorexic. They're overweight anyway. They can comfortably caloric restrict. They can put their caloric window down to the point that they're not going to bloat. If they bloated, then they're still overeating. Or they're eating unhealthy. Now, let's say this person thinks they're a Nutritarian, but they have a bagel once or twice a week. Well, or they have some oil in their diet. The white flour is so destructive to the lining of the gut, and the cooked oil is so destructive to the lining of the gut that even once a week can prevent them from healing and increase their exposure to mold. Because there's mold or mycotoxin in flour, even whole wheat flour. And the bagel, being white flour, is like eating straight sugar, which decreases healthy bacteria, feeds unhealthy bacteria, and produces yeast form in the guts. Yeast form in the gut, mold and yeast in the gut. So that white flour, one bagel, oh, I'm eating so healthfully. It's not a big deal. I have one piece of white bread a week. I have one bagel a week, one chocolate chip cookie a week. Otherwise, I'm eating perfectly healthy. They're not going to get their gut. They're not going to get the gut back healthy again. The little bit of cheating, and this is where you and I have this thing going on back and forth, where I'm seeing these people, because I'm seeing people who are eating super healthy still have a heart attack, let's say. But because they have these little bit of cheats that added up because their genetics, they didn't eat healthy their whole life, and they have some other genetic risk factors, like small particle size or lipoprotein A.
Right.
And the little bit of cheating was enough to create the disease. They needed to do it 100%. Well, and it's the same thing here. When the person has this problem with mold and bloating and all this stuff, even having one serving of pizza a week or one serving of bagel a week or one cookie or cake a week or one, just a little bit is enough to screw up their healing.